Hey guys, it's JillianVita. Welcome back to my channel. So before I start, I do have to ask you guys, if you like this video or any of my other content, please be sure to subscribe by hitting the button down below, and I will love you forever and ever and ever. As you guys may have noticed, I no longer have ads in my videos. That's because as of February 20th, which is today, the YouTube partnership program policy changed, and I'm about a third to a half of the way there for both of the requirements, which are 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours. So if you guys can so kindly help me out and reach my goal and rejoin the YouTube partnership program, just be sure to watch my videos in their entirety and to subscribe down below. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, I wanted to talk today about something that happened to me that I experienced, that I want to just share my story, because I know a lot of people have gone through similar experiences, and I just wanted my voice to be heard and my voice to be spoken for people who are afraid to speak out about it, or are embarrassed, or are triggered by the stories like I'm gonna tell you. Just before I start, if you are triggered by stories of sexual assault or anything like that, then feel free to stop watching right now. I do not want you guys to watch anything that makes you uncomfortable or that sparks any sort of bad memories for you, but I am going to talk about my experience with being sexually assaulted. So I was about 25 years old. I was working in a nightclub on Fridays and Saturday nights, and I just did it for like extra money. I had my job Monday through Friday, and then I had my nightclub job where I was basically just working the door, and I was basically guest services where I would mix and mingle and be like a concierge for people and basically be like the host of the club. Now, this was in Brooklyn, and I remember I was dating somebody at the time, and I had gone from work, and in New York, nightclubs and things like that closed at 4 a.m. So this was like maybe like 4:15 or something when I was finally leaving, and I drove to the guy I was seeing's house, and I was going to spend the night over there. So I parked my car, and it's really difficult to park around that neighborhood. So I had to park like 2 or 3 blocks away. And I was on the phone with him while I was walking from my car to his house. I didn't think anything of it. I've never been afraid to walk in the city at night. I'm a Brooklyn girl. I'm a city girl. I grew up around a lot of people. I grew up in, a city. I'm always very aware of my surroundings. So I was walking, and I turned the corner, and as soon as I turned the corner, a man on a bike started to ride his bike next to me, and he started a conversation. So at first I thought he was just being friendly because, people tend to either like just say hi or whatever. But it was, like I said, like 4 in the morning. So my guard was up super high, and I just wasn't very comfortable with him being right next to me. So I was on the phone, and I was talking to my friend, but at the time I was just I don't want to say like I was shy about it, but I didn't want him to think that I was in danger or anything. So stupidly, I didn't really tell him what was going on, and I didn't really want to trigger the guy that was next to me to do anything like suddenly if he heard me telling the guy that I was seeing what was going on. So I just tried to like keep my cool, keep the conversation casual, and I was wearing a shorter dress with heels, and I remember I was walking up the block, and he was following me still, and he was speaking to me, and I could tell he wasn't drunk or anything, but he was getting closer and closer to me as I was walking. So at that point I hung up the phone because I was just about to be in my boyfriend's house. But the thing is that his door was on the side of the house, and I had to walk down a driveway in order to get into his home. So I knew that I wanted to be super cautious. So I decided to walk backward into the driveway. And then I thought he would stop riding next to me at this point, and he would just ride straight up the block while I was going down the driveway. But that wasn't the case. So as soon as I turned around and started walking backward, he dropped his bike on the floor, and he like chased after me, and I immediately I didn't panic. I got almost into survival mode, and he had, like I said, I was wearing a short dress, I was wearing heels, and he had gone and reached up, like almost trying to reach up my dress. So he basically touched my inner thigh, and like I said, I was wearing heels. So I immediately screamed at the top of my lungs, "Do not touch me, get off of me." I punched him in the face and I kicked him in the groin. And I don't know what came over me. I honestly couldn't tell you like what to do in that situation, but that was just my gut reaction. So like I said, he went to reach up under me. So imagine he's kind of bending down like this and his arm is like here. So I came up from here, I punched him in the face, screamed on the top of my lungs, and then I like kicked him with my heels in his groin. Excuse me. So when I kicked him in the groin and I screamed, it scared him enough to run away. He picked up his bike and he rode off. So at that point, I kind of knew that they were never going to catch him, because I knew what he looked like and I could describe him, but I knew that my description of him would fit a lot of other descriptions that I could give for a lot of other people. So I didn't really think that there was ever a chance of, if I reported it, him ever being caught. But it did make me severely uncomfortable to know that I was violated in such a way that I'd never been violated before. And I didn't want him to continue to do this to other people. So I was really shooken up at this point, and I just started to, I had really bad anxiety. And at the time I was just like like I said, I was in survival mode and I had adrenaline basically. And then once I got to the door, I just broke down. And like I said, I had hung up the phone right before that. So my boyfriend, well, the guy I was seeing, let's just call him my boyfriend for the sake of the story. My boyfriend like didn't know what was going on. So he saw that I was in a panic mode, and he like immediately tried to calm me down. And as soon as I told him what had happened, he immediately grabbed the knife and he went outside and started to chase after the guy. And I knew by that point the guy was on his bike, so he was long gone. So now I had stayed with him. He's like, "What do you want to do? Do you want to call the cops? Do you want to report him? What should we do? Do you like, let's take you to the police station. We'll report him." And I was just like, no, no, no. It's fine. Like, I'm okay. I'm a little shook up, but I'm fine. Like, let's not make a big deal about it. I know that if I go there, the description I can give can be one of many, many, many people. So I feel like it would have been a lost cause. So the following morning, I was doing fashion styling. So the following morning I had a shoot in Manhattan. So now this is Sunday, and I woke up super early. The shoot was at like 9 a.m. And by the time we had gone out to take the shots, we were taking them on the streets in the city. It was about noon. And like I said, it was a Sunday. It was a beautiful day. So a lot of people were in the streets. And that's, like I said, where we were shooting. So I had never, ever, ever been uncomfortable before in the city ever. I went to school for college in Manhattan. I went to a public school with 4,000 people. So just like, I was never nervous around big groups. I was never anxious around people. I wasn't skittish when people would get close to me. I just never had that reaction. And as we were shooting, I was standing there watching a shot, and a guy out of the corner of my eye came a little close to me, and my immediate reaction was just to freeze up and get really anxious. So I knew at that point that there was a bigger issue for me, that this had affected me more than I wanted to believe that it had. So when I realized that this became my reaction to people like coming in my space, it really upset me, because like I said, I was always comfortable around people. I never really had a reaction like that. And it was so foreign to me to have that gut reaction to people just walking by in the middle of the day, you know, in a place where there's millions of people around. And I just couldn't control that reaction and that emotion. So when I got home, I knew I had to tell somebody, because I just wasn't sure what I should do. So the first person I told was my aunt, and she immediately got really upset, and she was just like, "You have to tell someone. You have to tell your parents. You have to report it. You know, even if they don't find him, they'll have a description for him. Like, you have to tell somebody." So after debating about it, I decided to tell my mom and my dad. And the next day I had told my father, and he brought me to the police station and we reported it. And now this is where I have really strong feelings about victim shaming, because I knew that my dad always told me if I was going anywhere after work to change into sweatpants or like, you know, jeans or whatever, don't walk around in a dress. And I didn't do that. So I was just like, it's my fault, you know, like I could have avoided this from happening if I just was dressed more conservatively. If my legs weren't showing, then he wouldn't have been able to grab me. He wouldn't have been able to touch me, and my bare skin wouldn't have been exposed. And I just felt like it was partially my fault because I didn't take the necessary precautions to help avoid a situation from this happening. So my father, I guess he just didn't know how to handle it. I mean, he obviously was trying to protect me. And, you know, he also said the same thing, like, why did you wear that? You shouldn't have worn that. Like, whatever. So what I was already thinking was manifesting itself. And to hear my dad say the same thing, I really felt like I had brought this on myself. So I thought if we went to the police station and told them, that they would also think that this was my fault. So long story short, we went to the police station and I told the officer, and happened to be a female officer, I told her what happened, and I gave a description of the guy, and she told me that it was actually happening a lot at the time in that area, and the description that I was given did fit a lot of the descriptions that they had been given before. So what she thought was that there was basically a group of guys with this same kind of motive and the same approach to grabbing girls. So this wasn't the first time that she heard it, and the description, like I said, and the situation was very similar, if not identical, to other ones that had been reported as of late. So then I really just broke down and I was just like, I know it's my fault. I should not have been wearing what I was wearing. And she immediately stopped me and she said, it did not matter what you were wearing. You could have been wearing sweatpants. You could have been wearing a baseball cap. You could have been wearing jeans. You could have been wearing oversized clothes. It does not matter. He was going to do what he was going to do regardless of what you're wearing, and it's not your fault. And when she said that to me, I just felt like, almost like the weight off my shoulders, and I felt almost like I could breathe again. Like I felt that guilt that I had and the shame that I had in dressing the way I did and putting myself in a position like that just kind of get diminished. And I was really grateful that she said that, because obviously I'm sure she's heard girls or guys or whatever have that same kind of feeling where they felt guilty and they felt like it was their fault. And she just assured me, you know what, he was going to do what he was going to do anyway, and it absolutely is not your fault. So that definitely made me feel 1,000 times better. And since then, I think I've just become way more aware of my surroundings and the things that are happening around me. I didn't work in the club after that. That was the last time I worked there. I just wasn't prepared to be in that kind of a situation again or be faced with the same kind of like familiar circumstances. So I stopped working my job at night, and I just really just started to, like I said, be more aware of my surroundings, and I just wanted to make sure that it didn't happen to me again. And then when I said this to the cop and I reported it, if my statement helped get that person off the street and help them catch somebody and avoid it from happening to somebody else, then it was worth me standing up and doing that. But I don't know whatever happened since then. I don't know if they ever found him or what, but it's just one of those things where it definitely changes you in an instant, and you don't really know how it feels until you experience it. And then when you experience it, all of a sudden, even your own emotions become so foreign to you. It's almost like an out-of-body experience where things are happening to you and you're getting all these feelings that you never really had before, and you don't know what to make of it because it's just not familiar to you because you've never been in that kind of situation before. So my anxiety around people, like my social anxiety, definitely I guess exploded after that, but it has since died down. I'm very comfortable around people. I don't get antsy around people. Like people in close proximity still sort of make me a little bit anxious, but definitely not as bad as it was back then. And I just learned to be very, very aware. And since then, my dad got me mace to carry on my keychains. So he just wanted me to make sure that I could avoid or protect myself as best as I can, because you can't necessarily completely stop that from ever happening, but you can try your best to prevent it or protect yourself if you are in that situation. So I hope me sharing this with you helps whoever might be familiar with something like this or may have gone through something like this. And if you're struggling and you're not sure what to do about it, or if something like this happened and you're afraid to tell somebody, or you think it's your fault, just please know it is not your fault. And there are ways you can cope with it and heal from it and move past it. And just know that this happens far too often, and nothing you could have done would have stopped the person from doing what they were going to do anyway. And the best thing you could do is just protect yourself the best way that you know how. And I'm so sorry if this happened to you, and the words cannot express what it feels like to feel violated and what it feels like to not even know yourself afterward, or to be so foreign with your own emotions. But I just want you guys to know that I understand. I've been there and I totally get it. So if you're dealing with it, or if you don't know how to deal with it, or if you have something similar, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, or to send me a message or DM me on Instagram, whatever the case is, and I will be more than happy to give you whatever advice I had to overcome it. And I just hope that you guys give yourself a voice, and I hope that me talking about it empowers you to talk about it. And you guys are just so beautiful and strong, and I just don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable in their own skin or uncomfortable in the world that we live in because of an experience like that. And I know it happens far too often, but just know that it gets better and you'll overcome it. So again, if you like this video, if you could relate to me, please remember to subscribe down below. Like I said, if you want to talk about it with me, I'm more than happy to listen. You could message me, you can comment, you could DM me, you could find me on Twitter. However you want to get in touch with me, please, please, please do. And I'll be more than happy to be your friend. So until next time, you guys, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.